Thank you for sitting down with me.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis. Like I said, we're just going to talk about a couple things so people can kind of get to know you a little bit. So I guess my first question would be, where are you from originally?
I'm from upstate New York,
Okay.
Vermont border. Grew up in the Adirondack Mountains. Played hockey from a very young age. Grew up, I think I was just barely able to walk and got on four-wheelers with my grandfather and my dad, and grew up riding snowmobiles and four-wheelers, and then eventually dirt bikes. And
Oh, awesome.
so when I wasn't playing hockey, I was at the ski mountain, and then eventually started playing other sports. I played just about every sport, and then
Oh, wow. Football,
hockey, lacrosse were my varsity sports that I played.
Oh,
and
wow.
I played hockey through
Quite the
college.
athlete. I love it.
Yeah.
So you're from New York. What drew you down here?
Just a friend of mine from college. We actually went through elementary school, roomed together in college. His cousin is next door, the assistant principal, Amy Scarano, at the elementary school.
Okay.
So I was in New York trying to get a teaching job after graduation, and there wasn't a whole lot of market for PE teachers at that time. So
Gotcha.
I made the decision after a few interviews to come down and do some job fairs, and got interviewed. And on my first interview here, got hired right away. So I called my parents and said, I'm going to stay in South Carolina at least for a year. And
Okay.
my first year teaching, my parents came down to visit me and said, you know what, this is pretty good. We're gonna move too.
Hey, that's awesome. You brought them down with
So
you.
now my parents followed me shortly after my brother. Now I've got two aunts that live in the area.
Wow, you got the whole family down here. I love it. I love it. Since everyone moved, let me know.
Yes.
So when was it? When all
That was 2010. So I graduated
Okay.
college 2009, and then February 2010 moved here and started that 2010 school year teaching my first PE and coaching gig.
Okay. When did you graduate high school?
2004.
Okay, so I graduated in 03. So
Okay. Yeah.
all right, cool. So we're not that far apart.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you started off as a PE teacher, right?
I taught PE at E.L. Wright Middle School in Richmond School District 2.
Okay.
I coached middle school football there, and then I was the varsity lacrosse coach at Ridgeview High School.
Ah, okay. Awesome. So I guess what made you decide you wanted to get into education as a career field?
Being a multi-sport athlete my whole life growing up, my dad coached me in many sports. I initially said I wanted to be a coach, and then through high school I had some really good coaches and an athletic director that I got really close with. His son played hockey, and we were on the inaugural hockey team that our high school hockey team. I was a freshman the year that we got our first team. So
Oh, wow.
our athletic director had a lot to do with that, being that he was a hockey parent himself and had
Okay.
kids who played hockey. So got really close with him, and I came out of probably midway through my high school career saying I wanted to be an athletic director, just with my connection with him and watching how instrumental he was in helping us get that program started, because it was many years in the making of getting a high school hockey team in our high school. So
Okay.
just a respect that I had for him, and
Yeah.
and the relationship that I built playing 3 varsity sports and on varsity hockey since freshman year. Not many kids get that opportunity to play 4 years of varsity, and
Yeah.
so I got really close with him and really admired the work that he did as an advocate for the sports. And so that was my initial goal, was I want to be an athletic director. So naturally, you got to be a teacher before you can do that. So I said, I love PE and I love sports, so that just became a natural.
Yeah.
That was an easy transition. So I felt like I went from being an athlete to coaching athletes pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, that seems like a natural evolution.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So my first jobs, I guess, if you want to call them that, I was really young. Started reffing hockey when I want to say like 7 or 8 years old, and I was reffing the 5-year-old kids.
Oh,
and
wow.
then as
With a reg league?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then as I got older, got to the point where instead of being the kid that was 2 or 3 age groups higher than the groups I was reffing, I was like 14. I remember my parents were driving me to the rink to ref hockey games, and it was leagues that you could be up to 21 to play. So I was 14, 15 years old reffing the junior hockey, where kids that were up to 21 were fighting, and I'm trying to break up fights. And,
Yeah, that seems a little rough.
So it was
brave man.
It was pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. I got into umpiring baseball and reffing lacrosse. So I got kind of to be the jack of all trades when it came to all things sports. So
Okay.
being a PE teacher became it was a great job that I got to have fun with.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, me being a DiMaggio, baseball is that's baseball is my jam. I actually coach my daughter's coach's pitch team.
Great.
So hoping to do that again in the spring too. So
I played baseball until I found out about lacrosse.
okay.
I played, being that I was a hockey player, I liked the physical aspect of sports.
Sure.
And when my neighbor, who was our JV football coach, was the varsity lacrosse coach, he said, "I've seen you hit people playing hockey. You should try a lacrosse stick." So when I got old enough to join our lacrosse team, I switched from baseball to lacrosse.
Okay. All right. So you were the guy that started all the fights.
I did, yes.
Awesome. But I mean, I guess you could, use that as an administrator. You could help break up fights. You have practice being a ref. And
Yeah. Thankfully, not here. I haven't had to deal with that. But in my previous I was 10 years as assistant principal high school, and then as a PE teacher and coach, I broke up lots of fights.
Oh wow!
But so my experience with that was helpful.
I'm sure it was. That's awesome. So you said you wanted to be an athletic director, if you knew that from an early age.
Yeah, so that was my initial kind of career path, was
Okay.
just talking with him. And he wasn't a teacher, but he came into being athletic director as a second career.
Okay.
But so he kind of talked me through. He was as the athletic director, he oversaw our health and PE programs. So he kind of walked me through, if you want to be an athletic director, you should start off as a teacher. What do you want to teach? And I said PE, of course. So
Sure.
Went through college for that, to a small school in central New York, right outside Syracuse, called Cortland State University.
Okay.
And big on sports. And if you want to be a PE teacher and exercise, anything in the exercise physiology realm, Cortland was the place to go. So I went there and came out to teach PE, came here, started that. And then my first AP at the middle school, our assistant principals were also athletic directors. So in talking with him, and then as the varsity head coach, talking with my athletic director at Ridgeview, they were really in the, what makes you want to be an athletic director? And I said, I told them all the things. And one of my athletic directors, I won't name him out, said, as an assistant principal, you still get to go home as an administrator, if you can still go to all the games and you are supervising the games, but you get to go to all the sports, but you don't have to be at everything till midnight on weeknights and then turn around and come back to school the next morning. He said, you look at the hours that athletic directors put in, it's just astronomical. So when I was going through my admin program and they were kind of mentoring me through it, kind of changed my mindset a little bit and said, I'm going to go just straight into administration and go into being an assistant principal. And then if I decide I want to be an athletic director, there's always that door. And they were right. Being an assistant principal gave me a lot more avenues to reach kids, to help with teachers, and be an advocate for more people. And but I still got to go to the games and cheer on the kids and support them through that.
Sure.
So
that's awesome. So that actually answered my next question: is how did you make it to be a principal? But that's really cool. That's a neat evolution.
Yeah, it was a great segue. Every time I came into something saying this is what I want to do, nobody ever told me don't do that, or you don't want to do that. But every question was kind of framing me in that. Well, what is it about that makes you want to do it? And so just kind of got steered in the right direction through it. And they said, it's tough to go from coach to athletic director. A lot of athletic directors do some sort of, you have to have an admin degree to be able to do it. So you do some administrative work. Why don't you try that admin first? And I'm thankful that I got steered in that direction, because it worked out great.
Awesome. That's awesome. So now that you're here at CIS, what's your favorite thing about being here?
Kids love school, and it's a really different. Not that I didn't have kids that loved school, but coming from 10 years in administration at high schools, I chased down truancy and broke up fights and chased kids cutting class and leaving campus and showing up late. And, when the kids can drive, there's a lot more freedom to be able to come and go as they please. But what I really enjoyed here is that, and I noticed that my first week here last year, of the bell rings and the kids are in class, I was just shocked by it. It's just not my experience. I'm used to rounding kids up for the first 10 minutes of every class period, trying to get them in class and get them out of the bathrooms and the stairwells in the courtyard and try to get them where they need to be.
Yeah.
And here it was like school class started and everyone's in class. What do I do?
That makes me think of the movie Back to the Future. The principal is like, "You're a slacker."
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to know as a parent of a child here. I'm glad my kid is in class. So.
Yes. But I mean, just the kids' love for school is still here, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen in high school, but as kids progress through their age ranks, the love and the interest in school starts to diminish. But I really just enjoy seeing the kids at class change and in the cafeteria and at recess, just appearing anyway to just love being at school.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's certainly, as we're finding out with our oldest daughter being here, I'm sure, as she gets older, her focus turns more. She's great in academics, and I think that love is going to stay there, but definitely more focus on the social aspect. And I remember for me growing up, and I'm sure you did experience too, growing up, your shift kind of goes from,
yes,
I love learning to, I love being with my friends. So, okay, that makes sense though. So I'm glad that that's awesome that you're seeing that. And at the kids, it sounds like you get out there with the kids and you enjoy being out there and not just hold up in your office. I think that's awesome.
I don't like being in my office. If I'm in here, it's because I have to be in here for some reason. So
sorry.
I try to. It's decorated minimally because I do very little in here. And when I was an AP, the kids always joked. I spend a lot more time in my office now than I did as an assistant principal. But the kids at both of the high schools I came from always joked, "Oh, why do you even have an office? You're never in it." Because teachers would always send kids to my office if they were looking for me.
Sure.
And they would write little notes on the whiteboard outside my door, and then I would call them in at the end of the day or whenever I got back to my office to check it. And eventually I just said, listen, just find somebody with a radio and ask them to radio for me, because I was in classes or in the gym or in the hallways of the courtyard. Wherever the kids are is where I want to be. And now where the teachers are, I want to be, so I can be there to see them. Of course, there's things that keep me from that, but to whatever extent possible, I want to be where they are and supporting them.
I got you. Well, I appreciate you being willing to be in your office talking to me today.
Of course.
Kind of hard to do this out and about. So, so I have to ask too, kind of a different question, but what do you like doing in your spare time?
It depends on the season. I've got two kids, a 4 and a 6-year-old. We all ride dirt bikes and 4-wheelers.
Okay.
And so when it's cool, we'll be in the woods camping somewhere where we can be out riding. And with my wife drives the side by side with my youngest son, putting a car seat in the passenger seat, and my oldest and I are either in a side by side or a 4-wheeler on a dirt bike.
That's awesome.
We use our Trustmark accident insurance quite frequently. The hospital stay insurance has been beneficial, and ambulance insurance. So we are extreme to whatever extent possible when it comes to being safe. The kids trying to be safe for the kids, but I'm no stranger to coming into school with a road rash or a cast or a bruise or stitches.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that, I would say in the cooler weather, that's what we're doing. In the summer, we try to get on the lake whenever possible and throw the kids on a tube and pull them around and get fishing or whatever we can for water sports.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So your wife joins you in all of that.
Yes.
She has a love for that as well.
She didn't until we met, and I had a boat when we first met, and she fell in love with the boating aspect.
Okay.
And then when the first lake season came to an end, we were like, what do we do now? This is all we've been doing all summer long before kids, and both being in education. So we at that point had our summers off before we got into administration. So we were on the lake all summer, and then when summer ended, it was like, what do we do now? And our friend said, well, now it's time to get in the woods and start riding. And so we started following them to some riding parks, and cool. Went from riding a little 4-wheeler with 2 of us on it and having a Suburban that we used to camp in, to now we've got an RV and a riding trailer, and we do it up.
That's awesome. I was not expecting that, but that fits.
Yeah.
So I guess another question I would have, and in your in your experience, your opinion, let's say if somebody who's watching this is trying to decide between moving to this area of Lexington Five school district, or Lexington One or something like that, what would you say? Being an administrator and a resident of the Chapin area, what would you say it would be a draw for them?
I think the school system. I mean, the school system was a draw for me, and it's not a knock on anything on any other school system that I've worked in or lived in, but I just think the District 5 community is a true community. Every school principal that I've met, everyone from the district office to teachers and support staff, they just love kids. I mean, our staff here just do such a phenomenal job. The community support is huge. It's just a great place to raise kids and a great place to live. We have the lake is close by for water sports. We're outside of the city enough where if you are into hiking, biking, off-roading, we've got so many draws to that. The river to go fishing or kayaking on is that's a draw for us. Was pretty as similar as possible to where I grew up in the Adirondack Mountains, just without the mountains. It's got everything else. We've got the water.
We've got anthills.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think the proximity to if you want to get to the mountains of North Carolina, it's a couple hours. If you want to get to the beach, it's a couple hours. Being able to have the best of everything. If you want to get into Charlotte to see a professional sports game, it's right there. The downtown Columbia is 35-minute shot to get there. So nothing's really out of reach or inconvenient to make it to be able to go check out.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's awesome. All right. Well, I guess the last thing I would say, is there anything that anybody watching this that you would want them to know about you or about the school? Or
I think the school is just a phenomenal place to be. I'm the fourth principal here at Chapin Intermediate, and should be the last, since soon we are slated to change back to Chapin Middle School.
Sure.
But I'll say the consistency here is that there's just great staff that care about kids. So many of our staff have had their kids come through this school, and that just says a lot. I've worked at a lot of schools where teachers have their kids go to a private school or go to their zone school, and we have many staff members who live out of our school zone, but they bring their kids here and commute them with them away from their neighbors and their friends to come through the school and the school system. So that's a great testament to what happens at the elementary schools that feed us, and the middle and high school that they go to after they leave here is just a great place to be. Not just from a test score and state report card standpoint, but just a good place where people care about them.
Absolutely. Awesome. And I can say from a personal level, just both with elementary school and here, the PTOs are phenomenal.
Yes.
As well, and really support the staff and everything.
And they do
very impressed with that.
And I will say PTO and School Improvement Council do a great job of supporting the school and bridging that gap between parents and staff, and being able to be there as support for us, but us there to support them and what the parents want and the community wants. So they're very strong and have been a huge asset to us.
Awesome. Well, Principal Davis, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.